Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and for today's video, we're going to be talking about our wish
We're going to be
list.
talking about games.
We're going to be talking about games for sure, and we're going to be talking about our wish list of games that came out pre-2020. And then we're going to do another video.
Games that have eluded us all this time.
Right, quite old, really old games potentially. But then we're going to do another 10 of 2020 and 2021 games and possibly future games that we're aware of.
So yeah, newer games, possibly pre-orders, haven't released fully yet.
So we're going to break it into two different lists, and I would say kind of, at least the way I went about these lists are games that I would be happy to get as a gift, or also a game that I maybe haven't played before.
Does this come with a wink wink? I'd be happy to get this as a gift, wink.
Right, even if I might not know that much about the game, or it's a game that's piqued my interest enough that if all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone asked, "Oh, do you want to play this game?" I would almost always, assuming I had the time, would sit down and want to try these games out. So
yeah. I don't know if this is like a concrete wish list for me, but it's just I just kind of scrolling through the games and anything that just popped out to me and being like, that looks cool. Could just even be from a name. I know we get excited from just the name of a game sometime, or the look of it, or designer. Anything that just gets me wanting to play the game. That's kind of what I went with.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get started on this.
Pre-2020.
Pre-2020.
I had to check. I may be wrong on some of these.
Yeah,
I
feel like some of these might be close as to when
like,
people actually received them.
Because I know Isle of Cats, there was kind of some debate on whether that was like, what was it,
2019 or
2019 or
2020.
2020. Yeah. So these may fall into that same category, but I think, if my math is correct, these are all pre-2020. First up, I have the third game in the Century, well, I think it's actually the second game, in the Century Golem trilogy, and that is Eastern Mountains.
Oh.
And we have the original of the
The
Golem
Golem
edition, as well as the Endless World. And I've thoroughly enjoyed both of those, and I just think that it's one that we definitely should end up getting at some point. And as well with all the ways that you can combine the games, I see this as a must-have to go along with those.
Yeah, I would agree. I hadn't really thought of that one, but I think that's a pretty solid pick for a list like this, because, yeah, we definitely...
I feel like that's the one that
enjoyed.
I kind of has the most... It's the safest pick.
Right. It's a very safe pick based on, I'm assuming it's at least somewhat close to feeling like the other two, and I've, like you, have enjoyed both of those. So, yeah. Hopefully that's a very solid pick. Once we get to eventually try it or buy it, it will hopefully play out like we want, and then maybe we can try out putting it all into one game and see how that works out.
Yeah. And I should mention that I didn't put my list in any order. Here.
Yeah, I didn't really put mine in much of an order either. And
I do actually have more than 10 here, so we'll see how I narrow that down.
Well, I had exactly 10, so but we'll have plenty of time to talk about yours, maybe. And yeah, there's definitely some here that I think I know a little bit more about than others. So yeah, then that's kind of the case with this number 10, and that is Snowdonia. This is one that I've heard talked about a little bit, but it's also one that I think isn't talked about as much, because I think, at least when I've looked at it, it's either sold out or it's very expensive. I don't know if it's... I think it recently had a reprint of a master or some sort of edition or something. I think it's a worker placement game, and for me, I could use all the worker placement games in the world, and the people that have played it seem to really enjoy it and think it's that I've heard of really seem to enjoy it and think it's a good game, especially for a worker placement, which is right up my alley in games usually. So
Yeah.
it is definitely one I was interested in, and like you said about the name, that kind of gets me. I don't know.
Snowdonia.
Snowdonia just is a different sounding name than some of the other ones. So yeah, if it's got more of a Euro-y feel, but the name kind of doesn't necessarily sound as Euro-y. I don't know.
Yeah,
Catches.
yeah. I haven't heard of this one even. Where is it ranked on BGG, or isn't it like one of the top?
I don't remember off the
500?
top of my head, but I think it's either close or might be in the top 500 games. So I think it's pretty
The name
well liked.
must not have stuck out to me as much as it did to you.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
I've seen it several times, especially on like Instagram or some videos and stuff, but I don't hear about it that much because, and I'm just assuming that's because it's maybe out of print or it has been out of print for a long period of time, so it may be less likely to be have people have played it and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's your number 9?
My number 9. The previous one was a pretty safe pick, as we had played 2 games in the series. And this one might be even safer because I've actually played this game, and that is an Abyss universe game, and that is...
I thought you were going to say Abyss.
Abyss. No, this is Conspiracy. Kind of a spin-off to Abyss, but I think where Abyss, I don't think plays as well with 2 players, so I might not. I've played both of them on BGA. I might not want to get that one in the actual physical collection just yet, as we mostly play 2-player games. But this one, Conspiracy, does play a lot better at 2 players, and it's a very quick game. It's a card game, pretty much, and I think it could be one of the best, I guess, filler games that I've played.
Oh, nice. Does it feel like Abyss?
It does have a few hints of Abyss in there.
Okay, because yeah, I had played Abyss once with you on BGA, but yeah, that's all I've played that, and I really enjoyed that play, but I don't really know. I know you've talked about Conspiracy, but I don't really know that much about it, so yeah, that's definitely probably one I have to try out on BGA at some point to see if that should really make the collection or not, see how it plays 2-player, because yeah, I think that was the one thing, because I had debated, like, I'm like, I wonder if Jesse would, I knew you liked it, but I was like, I don't know if he'd want it or not, and I remembered our play, I think we played just 2-player, and I'm like,
with some
I know that
of the
wasn't
bidding in that game.
Yeah, I think that always makes it a little tough in those types of games when it's 2 players, so, yeah. Number 9 for me, I have another...
Worker placement?
This one sounds Euro-y. It is not worker placement, though. But it sounds like a Euro game. Do you have any idea for a title?
What is this?
There's two words. Or two things connected by an and.
Rum and Bones comes to my mind, but I don't think that's really a Euro.
No. Heaven and Ale.
Heaven
so
and Ale.
It's close. But no, this is one that's kind of piqued my interest for a little bit.
Feels like that one's kind of
up.
gone under the radar a bit.
Yeah, I think it kind of has. It isn't. I don't feel like it's brought up as much as some of the other Euro games that people like a lot. But when I hear it talked about, it sounds like people tend to enjoy it. I think it had I think it has some rondel movement in it.
I like rondel.
And some tile placement with some different colored tiles. So it sounds like a game that's probably up my alley. That's why I don't know that much about it, but it definitely looks and sounds like a game that's up my alley. And I've heard pretty much all good things about it. And I don't know that Z is much of a Euro gamer.
Yeah, because I know
he said he liked it.
That's where it actually piqued my interest. It didn't make my list, but most of my interest has come from him actually liking the game quite a bit. I'm not sure. Did it make its top 100?
I don't remember if it did or not, but I just remember in some video recently he had mentioned that he liked it, which I think, put it back in my mind.
From the look and sound of it, I wouldn't expect that.
Right.
So that opened my eyes to it a little more.
yeah, that's why it made my list. Pushed it over the top.
Up next, I have I definitely am the most solo gamer
Oh boy.
of this group. So here's a game where it was played in the Tom Vassell solo marathon.
Ooh.
And it was played like 100 times because it took a while to get the rules straight. And that is Coffee Roaster. I feel like this is the solo gamer's darling. Everyone loves this game. I've heard, I believe, Mike DeLisio and Tom have both talked a lot of good. I don't know if I've heard Z talk that much about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But yeah, I've heard a lot of majority solo gamers talk great things about this game, and I watched the playthrough, and that looked like a lot of fun. Building up your bag. I like bag building. Quacks of Quedlinburg is one of my favorite games of all time. And this could be a cool kind of solo take on that.
Yeah, this was one that the title is interesting to me. I don't even like coffee, but
Me neither.
it's interesting, and the cover looks pretty neat, I think. And yeah, I think I had watched him play it as well, and with that building up, bag building type thing, that piqued my interest as well. But I have a little harder time playing solo games, I think, than you do. So that's probably why it did not make my list or whatever. But definitely, I think that is one that I would also be willing to try. I can't even remember. Does it have any other variants, like non-solo?
I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that you could just multiple players control it. That may be a little weird, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it does or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. It's one that I would try if I had the chance. Maybe.
Ooh.
Maybe.
If I
We'll
let you
see.
try it. My coffee.
Oh, and number 8. This one's kind of been on my radar a little bit for a while, mainly because I think it might be one that Michaela will like, at least the theme-wise, but it is one that's also been out of print, so maybe getting it once I think it's supposed to be back in stock within the next couple months, so I don't know how long this will stay on the wish list and go into the played list, but this is Obsession. It's kind of based on the Jane Austen world.
Oh, yes, that one. I see.
Yep. So I think it's got card drafting in it, and I believe deck building, some different things like that, and so it's got like some Euro-y things to it, but then that theme, I'm hoping that it'll be something that we can both like in our own ways. So I think it might be a little bit heavier. So I'm hoping it's not, I don't know, too heavy. But I think this one's also, I can't remember what it was ranked, but it kind of surprised me because I didn't expect it to be that well, or that many people own it. Because usually in Board Game Geek anyway, it seems like it takes. It needs to be a game that a lot of people play before and actually rank for it to actually move up quite a ways. And I thought this was ranked surprisingly well for something that I thought was a little more maybe indie and not as well known. But just based on those rankings, it seems like people really love it. So I'm hoping it'll be a really great one once I'm able to play it.
Yeah, I think you've sent me a playthrough of that a while ago.
Probably.
But yeah, it didn't really stick with me too much, but it didn't. It also wasn't anything too terrible. I'd be okay with playing it for sure. Up next,
What's he got? Oh no, I can tell by the look on his face he's going down a bad rabbit hole.
Yeah. This one we had a choice. I feel between two games, and it's not the two that you're thinking.
I have no clue what you're thinking.
Back in the day, and you ended up getting me one for my birthday. Between two very similar themed games that are not based on an IP at all. and those were Dinosaur Island and Dinogenics. And we got Dinosaur Island, which
You fooled me.
Not based on anything, obviously.
Right.
And I've loved that game. It was my number one game for quite a while, until Wingspan came around, and then until Tapestry came around.
Yeah, now it's fallen down into the depths. If you go watch our top 50 of all time, you don't have to get very deep into it to find out where Dinosaur Island is ranked. Gotta give them a hard time.
Now, if that was top 200, then it'd feel like a great one. But just because we narrowed it down to top 50,
it makes it feel like it just barely stuck on.
Yes. But no, I love Dinosaur Island, and I'm very much looking forward to the Kickstarter of Dinosaur World and the Roar and Write delivering. And just with all these dinosaur games that we're going to have, I kind of get the urge to go back and maybe pick up Dinogenics and compare all of these games. I think the theme as well is still as strong in that game. I'm not quite sure how it plays compared, but I believe it is worker placement game still.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities and some differences, it sounds like, or from what I remember. I haven't looked at this one in a little bit, but I was also, back in the day when when we were looking at these two, I was probably, it was about a 50-50 split, because they both looked really cool and interesting, but they both ended up coming out around the same time, which made it a little tougher to decide which one exactly. And I think Dinogenics was just on Kickstarter at the time, so it would have been a little longer of a wait to get that. So I think that's why I don't remember exactly probably why I ended up going with Dinosaur Island, but yes, I would be very interested in. I didn't really think of Dinogenics, but it is definitely one that I would definitely be interested in playing as well, or trying out, adding to a wish list. So that is a good choice.
A lot of approval from you.
My number 7 is one that you probably know is going to be on this list, but you probably didn't know. You probably thought it might be a little higher, maybe.
Did we have a choice between this game and another game?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then I don't know what it is. I mean, I probably know what it is, but...
It is Anachrony.
Anachrony, yes.
This has kind of been one that's sort of eluded me, but it's also been mainly because there's something about it that feels like it might be like a next level. I don't know if it's going to be too complex of a game for me, or maybe I think I would enjoy it. I'm just wondering if you or Michaela would enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can enjoy them, but I don't think you guys enjoy those nearly as much as I do. When it comes down to it, I think you guys would rather play not something necessarily just easy or something, but something that maybe a little quicker. I think this one is probably a little bit of a longer game, but it's got, I believe, worker placement in it. It's got the supposedly non-debt time travel, but basically debt. But I'm interested in seeing how that actually works. So I think this is one. This has definitely been on a list of mine to get or look at more and more. It's probably one of the longest running ones that I've had.
I feel like we kind of did the same thing with Scythe back in the day, where it's like, are we ready for Scythe? And looking back, I don't think Scythe was that difficult. So we probably could have gotten it earlier than we did. But I don't know if we can say the same about this one. I think this one's going to be pretty heavy, and it didn't make my list, but just when you look at those big boxes, especially that Infinity box.
I was very tempted, because up to that point, I don't remember when they had that campaign. It was probably a year or two ago now, maybe longer, but it had already been on my wish list probably at that point for a year or two. And when I saw that, I had to really hold myself back from going all in on it. Because I'm like, I really don't know if this will be a game that I'm really going to like, and am I really going to want to have this huge box with, I think it had expansions or whatever.
But it's just so epic looking. It's so epic looking.
That looks really good.
It almost can get me over anything. It looks epic and feels epic.
It is.
Okay.
What do you got for number 6?
You had some epic games. I have some epic games. I'll just do a 2 for 1 because these kind of feel the same to me. They probably don't play at all the same. I need to mention a lot of games here.
Oh boy.
And those are kind of some, I assume they have combat. I don't know much about them. The 2 I'm thinking are Cyclades and Conan. I don't think these are like similar publishers or anything. I just group them together because that's what I feel.
Interesting. I honestly have not looked at much about any of these games, or either of those games.
Cyclades is actually Bruno Catala, so that's pulling me in. Plus, I think I like the cover a lot. Looks epic to me. And kind of as we've gotten into more and more games, we've gotten bigger and bigger games, and I've really enjoyed them. And I'm just always looking for that next huge box, epic map, something, battle, whatever. I don't know if that one plays as well with 2 players, so that's a concern. But yeah, and Conan is more battling monsters and different things like that.
I'm kind of wondering, I don't want to say something else because it might be on your list later. I don't know, so we'll see for battling. Do you have any other like possibly battling games on your list?
Likely.
Okay. I'll just leave it at that for then.
And also, I'm not including any that I may have pre-ordered or kickstarted in any of these lists. So there's probably some things you could figure out from these.
Yeah, I don't know much about those, so I have no input. But they're probably great picks. I've heard of them, so that's always a good sign. For my number 6, it's a game that I've actually played as well. It's one that somewhat recently, it's probably been longer than I think now. It seems like time just flies. But had an expansion to it on Kickstarter that I almost went back and kickstarted that along with the base game. It is in the role-player universe, and it is Lockup.
Ooh, Lockup.
This is one that we played on Tabletopia, and it's a little bit of a worker placement and hidden. I don't know what you'd call it exactly. Like a hidden some of your worker, it can be hidden. Workers are like numbered from 1 to 5, and then there's like a special one.
Yeah, there is a special one.
Or maybe
Forget
there's
exactly
not one.
what it does. But you kind of you place them on the board, worker placement style, but you can place some of them face down.
So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of hidden information depending on when you place it, and it's sort of area majority as well when you're placing those, or area control. Because whoever has a higher amount, because you can put multiple in the same one, whoever has the higher amount kind of gets the first action or resources in that area. So you're kind of bidding in a way. It's just an interesting thing of different mechanisms that come together in a really fun way. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think I've enjoyed all the kind of role-player games that I've tried out. So just the normal role-player and cartographers I've really liked as well. And I really liked my play of this one. So.
I really enjoyed our play of that one. And I put that on my short list and was pretty sure it would make the list, but I must have forgotten to put it on there. But yeah, that would definitely have been on my list, for sure. I really like that game, as well as the whole series of role-player games.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting crazy.
Oh boy.
We're getting crazy.
What's he got now?
Another big game?
No. I feel like you're getting into these big games now.
I'm getting into these big games. Well, if the Dice Tower would stop posting playthroughs of these games and convincing me, I would have never looked at this game. But they had a playthrough. I thought, I need something to watch. Watched it. Looked very, very fun. Cthulhu Death May Die.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
Take that in. Take that in.
I'm gonna just tell you right now, Cthulhu isn't really a theme that excites me. So
Yeah,
I guess, and not saying that the games aren't good or anything. A lot of people love a lot of the games, so I'm just gonna say I know nothing about it because I've never looked at it. So.
Yeah, Cthulhu doesn't really excite me that much
Mhm.
either. Kind of nasty even. But so that's why I'd never even looked at it.
Mhm.
But I believe Mike and Tom had a playthrough of it.
Mhm.
And maybe it was just because it came down to like that last die roll for them, which made it very, very exciting and cinematic, which it may have kind of pushed it up onto this list. But other than that, I feel it's similar to kind of the games that I've been looking at lately, like based on Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Mm.
I've gotten a lot more into those dungeon crawls,
Mhm.
I guess, moving around, fighting monsters.
Mhm.
This has some of that with some story, and I believe your characters, you can kind of upgrade them and get them different abilities, which I guess you're going insane, but you're also getting stronger with that. But you don't want to get too insane, otherwise you kind of start to die. But yeah, another dice chucker, and it looked fun. Fun to me.
I'll have to take your word for it. I'm not going to comment that that's a great choice until I see it in action.
Death may die. Doesn't for the name? Doesn't that kind of sound cool? Death may die, like a
It's not the
James
word.
Bond film or something.
That does sound like a game that they could have made. James Bond, Death May Die. That definitely sounds right up that alley. But yeah, hopefully, if you ever end up getting that wish granted, hopefully it's a good game. Um, but getting to my number 5, it's not quite as big and epic as that game, for sure. This one's more based on the theme of it. It kind of combines two of my favorite things in one. So I don't know that the game itself is like extremely strong, but I think the theme will hopefully, give it that extra edge for me. And it is Book It, the
Ooh,
wrestling,
yes.
the wrestling game, which is I believe a bit of a card drafting game, sort of deck building. I believe where you draft some wrestlers and then put together fights for or matches for a card,
Yep.
and you end up getting points for various things depending on the matches. And there's dirt sheets, I believe, which can affect your opponents and whatever. Write bad things about them, or I'm not sure if you can write good or have good things about yourself, or how exactly those work. So there's maybe some take that, which isn't usually one of my favorite things, but I think it would be in a fun way that kind of just playing out those stories. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. That's why I haven't gotten it yet because I, I don't know how many other like wrestling based games there really are. I think there's probably what is it, that Dice, is it Dice Masters WWE or
Yeah,
something?
I think so.
I think there's some that have like a WWE thing attached to them, but um, this one looks interesting to me, and I'm hoping if I ever do get it, it will bring out a very thematic experience.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like that's one where if you're just kind of told the gameplay of it, it'd be like, take it or leave it. But with the theme as well, and it looks like it's going to tie in pretty well to the gameplay mechanisms, I think that could definitely bring it up a few levels even, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely be into playing that one.
Oh boy, does he stay epic with all
boy.
these huge Cyclades, Cthulhu Death May Die. Just waiting for Gloomhaven itself. No, that's not going to be on there. It's not going to be on there.
You don't know. How about another Cthulhu game?
Oh gosh,
No.
Arkham Horror.
No, I did not. I did not put another Cthulhu game. I will go with a second edition
Okay.
of a game.
Okay.
I believe it's pretty high on BGG.
Mhm.
And it is pretty high on one member of the Dice Tower's all-time list. Atlantis Rising.
Viticulture.
Viticulture.
Essential edition.
There we go.
We've got that pepper.
Atlantis Rising, 2nd edition. I've had. It looks cool. I like the cover always.
It does look very cool.
And it's gotten a lot of praise, especially from Z Garcia, and I think everyone who I've heard review it at all has said great things about it. And we kind of haven't. We used to not really play that many cooperative games, but now that we played a few more, and I've gotten even more into solo gaming, I feel like this could possibly be a time to jump into that one, since it's one of the highest rated cooperative games.
Yeah, I would think it's, I don't know, they say it's sort of comparable to Pandemic, that type of, sort of similar feel, but not exactly. But yeah, this one I would be interested in trying ever since we went back to Pandemic, and like you said, we've played a few more cooperative games. I think I'm starting to kind of get more into a few cooperative games, so it might be, you're right, it might be the time to try something like that one, whereas before it just probably wouldn't have, like a year or two ago, probably wouldn't have made my list at all, just because, I don't know, there's something about cooperative games that it just felt like you could get like a alpha leader type person that would kind of control the whole type of game. But I think I think there's been a lot of good games within the last few years that kind of take away your ability to kind of do that, and just allow you to kind of play your own game. So
yeah. Plus, I believe it's Elf Creek Games did this one, and they made Honey Buzz, which is a phenomenal production, as well as
Merchants of the Dark Road,
which I'm sure would be on your list if you hadn't already backed it.
It'd be on the 2020 list,
on the
but
new
yes,
list.
Yes, it probably would have been on there for sure. Because I'm looking forward to that one. But
yeah, I mean, anything they make, it's bound to look good and feel good while you play it. Plus, I just am loving anything that's kind of a race against time type of experience.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Number 4, I've got another smaller game. It's actually a flip and write game, which might surprise you that it's on the list, because we do have quite a few of them already. But this one is one that I've looked at for a while, and this was also one that got re-kickstarted, I believe, with another game. I don't remember what the other game was, but I think there was 2 games. Now it's going to bug me. I don't remember what the other one was, but I think I was actually considering it because I liked both of them. God, I don't remember what was with it. But it is On Tour. So it's a game about, so you get your player board with kind of a map of America, and then there's like the different routes that you can take to the different cities and stuff. And I think you lay out a certain amount of cards. I don't remember exactly how the numbers are determined, but then you get 2 numbers, and you can like write them like either way. So if it was like a 1-7, you could put it as a 17 or 71. And I believe you're trying to make the longest continuous path of numbers that are increasing or decreasing, however you do it or whatever, across it. So, and I believe the cards out there are kind of dictate the areas where you can put the numbers. So you kind of have to have a little bit of planning, like, I'd like to loop around here so I can put that, maybe I can put that 71 up here. But then keep I can't remember. I think you might have to put both the different options out there. So yeah, maybe you put the 17 over in this area and the 71 over here, and try to get a connection.
You get to do both numbers.
I believe you do. I don't remember exactly. I haven't looked at this one in a little bit, but it's that's what the other one was, and that could have made this list as well. And it is QE. I'm like, I knew there was 2 games.
How are those 2?
They were like
together.
You could put them you could get both of them, and I was really debating it and now I'm kind of upset that I didn't, because those, I think they're both games that I would really love.
Yeah.
So On Tour,
that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at it and see see if it still hits the spot like it did. But
But
no.
yeah, anything
So-
with a neat puzzle, which most of those Android games are, yeah, I'd be up for.
Mhm.
And back to me and my games.
Okay, what's it gonna be this time?
What do we got? 3 left to go.
3 left to go.
I've got like 4 or 5 games here. I will go with
He's just picking them as he
this
goes.
one.
I'm gonna start combining them. He says.
Here is a game which is a little more normal feeling.
Mhm.
I believe it is part of a trilogy that we owned one game from.
Part of a trilogy that we own one game from.
Yes, a trilogy that was then reprinted. And we own one of the reprinted games.
I don't remember.
The game that we own is Kuzco, reprinted with those awesome little miniature, I don't know, temples.
Yeah.
And the other game that I'm talking about here is Tikal, which, again, the reprinted version only, which has been hard to find. But I heard recently that they are going to start producing it again, or maybe for the first time in English and in the United States in the coming year or two, which I guess it was released a while ago, but it will be available from 2020 on. So I guess it's debatable what list it should be on. But yeah, we haven't actually played Cusco, but I have played it, and I liked it quite a bit. And I love the production, and the production in all 3 of the reprinted ones looks amazing to me. And I think they're all kind of a little more abstract of a game, which I know isn't really up your alley 100%. But it's something that I like.
Yeah, I would agree that I've definitely looked at these for a short period of time at least, because they definitely look really good. I think so. That part has.
I
caught
think
my
that's
interest.
the biggest part.
That part has caught my interest. So, but yeah, it's probably not a thing that I'm as big of a fan of, but definitely willing to try those just because they look really nice, and I think I've heard mostly positive things about all of those as well. So, yeah. Number 3 for me. It's another game that I've played only once, and it's been a while, so now I feel like hopefully you played it as well, so hopefully you'll be there to back me up, because I don't remember exactly everything about how it's played. This was another one we played on Tabletopia, so kind of before we moved over pretty much
I'm hoping this
all
is one
to
of the
Board
ones
Game
that I
Arena.
am trying to narrow down so that I can get it in here.
I don't think it is, because I don't think you liked it as much as I did, but it could be. It could be. And this is a Red Raven game.
Ooh. That's right.
Islebound. And this is another one that I don't know if it's very easy to get.
Probably the hardest of those Red Raven games, I would say.
Yeah, but yeah, it's even on board or Tabletopia. It looked really beautiful.
Yeah, looks very nice.
It's a really nice looking game, and it's got like a nautical theme where you're sailing your ships around to these different islands, which is a theme that I just really enjoy, and I really enjoyed my play of it. It's, I think, one that I would like having in the collection, because I think it seems like a decent amount of the Red Raven games, and I'm just assuming this, but it feels like they're more like a lot of story-driven type gameplay, and this one doesn't have that quite as much, so that's what I think draws me in a little bit more. It's more like what's the one we have? The Ancient World.
Oh, Ancient World. Yep.
Where that one doesn't have as much story either. It's got the worker placement. This one doesn't have worker placement, but you sail your ship to a certain island and can take like 2 different types of actions, I believe, or something like that. I just
a
found
worker
it pretty
movement.
interesting. Yeah, and then I think you could fight monsters and stuff, I believe.
Yeah.
And you could influence it based on your crew members, I think, and where their dice rolls in it as well.
I think so.
So, Yeah, I think it had a bunch of fun different little mechanisms tied together, and then obviously I loved the theme and the whole artwork. Production looked good.
The look of the game was very top notch.
But wow, he's not supporting it, so I think I was right on my thought.
It was not.
So it wasn't the one on your list.
It was not the one on my list.
I better write that on your list then.
I liked it. I didn't love it, but again, it is hard to experience it on Tabletopia.
That did take us a while to play.
I feel like most of the heavier games I've played on Tabletopia have not given me the best impression, and I think that is one of the big reasons.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that versus Board Game Arena is it's just night and day.
I know.
I think
Tabletopia kind of looked nicer with the interface and the website. So I'd been like, I don't really want to go over to BGA. It doesn't really hit my eye as well. But once I've actually played on BGA, I don't want to go back to Tabletopia. Plus, I've had a hard time logging back in, getting logged into Tabletopia. So I'm like, forget it.
I think it's definitely one. Even if I didn't end up ever getting it, it would be one I'd love to play in person and see kind of if I still get that same feeling.
Get it for a friend. That's what we do.
Get for Pepper. Christmas.
Just open it. You son of a... No, the Tabletopia game that I have on here
is this your number 2?
I guess it would be. I didn't put these in any order. This is Castle Panic. I played it on there. That one's a lot easier to play on Tabletopia.
Yeah.
There's a lot less little details in that game. And I think this kind of fits with a lot of the other games, kind of a race against time, fighting baddies. It's a lighter weight game, but I think that just means you can go quicker and teach a lot of people this, and I think pretty much anyone could play this game. Not that we have a huge group that we need that type of game, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. Just the card play and the monsters slowly coming in and figuring out which cards to give to your allies and which to keep for yourself, which walls to rebuild, and then kind of pulling out of the bag, hoping for a boulder to come down and wipe out 3 to 6 monsters. I don't know. There's just something about it I really, really enjoyed. And as well, there's you can play co-op, you can play semi-co-op, you can play one against all. So I'm like, I'd kind of like to explore all of those options.
Yeah.
Maybe not enough to go all in on the recent upgraded Kickstarter with all the wooden and minis. I'm like, I don't know if it's worth that, $400 or $500.
Yeah.
But yeah, for just the base game, $30-$40. Yeah, I'd like to have it in the collection.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. I played that a few times with you on there, and I enjoyed my plays. Like you said, it's a little bit of a lighter game, but I think it's a solid one. It's one of those kind of like we have probably 20 to 30 of those types of games in the collection.
And that's probably one of the things as well that's kind of kept me from getting it. Is do we need this? Even though I do still find myself wanting to go back and play it, even though I don't really prefer Tabletopia anymore, and I believe that's the only place that I know that you can go, or that I've played it online.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Well, I do have mine numbered, and this is number 2. Still not really necessarily in order, because I think on any given day, just depending on what I'm feeling like, these could be rearranged.
Yeah.
But I only have 2 left. So mine is Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done.
Ooh.
And this is another one that's kind of been just hanging out there that I just haven't ever gotten around to being able to play or gotten. But it's definitely been on the list. It's probably right after or about the same time as Anachrony. It's probably been on there that long for me, on and off, like both of them. But this one has.
Looks cool.
It does look very
I like
cool.
the cover.
I like the color.
Only other thing I know is there's some sort of dice.
I think there's a
something dial thing.
Rondel and mandala mechanisms in it, which are both things that I tend to enjoy. It just looks really cool, and it's got the wooden pieces, and this is another one that looks and feels Euro-y. So that's what's really hooked me in. And I think that you get some horse pieces that you kind of move across this place. So it's been one that I've been interested in for a while. I think they had an expansion on Kickstarter, but I think it was Tasty Minstrel Games, and that's kind of more recently, and I don't know if it actually delivered or not. But yeah, maybe if that totally fell through and some other company was able to redo it and maybe launch a campaign with both the base game and expansion, maybe then I would look at it a little bit more and see. But I think it's out there too at a halfway decent price, so maybe I'll have to look back at it a little bit more, kind of go back and see what I first originally thought of it. But yeah, whenever I see this, it always, I don't know, it gets me excited to I can't wait to eventually play that game.
I mean, I forget. I don't know really anything about the game. I just thought that I remembered there being something, back when I first heard about it, I just kind of went off of reviews only. And I thought there was something that whoever was reviewing it kind of didn't really like about the game, some part of it. I don't know what it was. It probably wasn't even that game. But that's kind of held me against kind of looking into it more.
Yeah.
And my number one, apparently,
along with 3 other games,
the last one that I decided to put on the list, I think this is. I think this is a Cool Mini or Not game.
Okay.
And it's one of those cheaper ones though, where it's like, this is a good price.
Like this is a good price compared to what it was at one point, or?
No, because I know they have some that are a little more expensive. But I think this is kind of along the line of like Council of Four, where it's kind of like $30-40.
No.
I believe it's Cool Mini or Not. It might not be. I'll correct it if I'm wrong. And that is Way of the Panda. Have you heard of this game?
I haven't heard of this. I know nothing about it. So it definitely could be a Cool Mini or Not.
Almost got this a while ago. But then I don't know if it's like I don't think it's bad at 2 players, but I don't think it's the very best. But now that
I think a lot of their games kind of deal with that, because I've been interested in like some of the Blood Rage and Rising Sun and stuff, but from what I've heard, they don't play that well at 2, so that's kind of why it's like maybe someday at maybe a con I'd play them, but I don't think they'd be. But you can talk about the Panda or what?
But yeah, and it kind of reminded me of Council of Four, and since Michaela actually ended up liking Council of Four quite a bit, now I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Panda's got a chance. But yeah, I think it's kind of similar in that, where you're kind of going around a board and building buildings or claiming routes as well. On a board, kind of got that aspect, but also each player has like a grid of actions. I forget exactly how it goes, but I believe you can only go to the right or down to your previous action. So if you start in the first spot, you can only go to the right or down to the next level. And so kind of limiting your actions that you can take. The farther you go, the more actions you take. And I don't know exactly how it works now. It's been a while. But I just found that at the time very, very intriguing way to select your actions.
Yeah, that does sound interesting. What was that? Rise of the Panda?
Way of the Panda.
Way of the Panda.
Plus
Rising Sun of the Panda.
Rising Sun of the Panda Rage. 4.
I will have to look at that one. It does sound very interesting. But I don't think I've ever heard of that one. So I will have to look into that.
I like how he's writing it down, even though I have it written down right here.
And I can't go back and watch this video to see what he said. But no, for my last one, I don't know if you'll know this one either that much. I'm guessing you've probably heard it. And I don't like a lot of these. There's just so many games out there that when I see them, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool or looks cool and stuff. So it's really hard to remember what all these are until I'm like really set on buying them and look into them a lot more. But this one is Rurik Dawn of Kiev. This was another one that
I have
within the last year or so had a Kickstarter and with an expansion, and I debated doing this. A lot of these have that type of thing, and somehow
at least
these
you,
are all
at
the
least
ones
you
that
stop
have,
yourself. Otherwise, there would
a
be
lot
no
of these,
list.
Right, a lot of these are those types of things where I've really stopped myself from getting them. So I think that's how I know that they are definitely on a wish list, or
I know
definitely a list of games that, like I said, if I got offered to play it right now, I would almost definitely play all of these right now.
Yeah, I know some people suggest that to kind of tell, like, if you should back something or not. Just kind of say you're not backing it and come back at a later date and see if you're still thinking about that game. And if you didn't back it and you're still thinking about it, then it must be something that you definitely are interested in.
Yeah, and I think with this one, it's another. I believe it has more of a Euro-y feel, but it's got like area majority and like battling and stuff on it, which typically those things kind of separate. Not in all games, but usually it's either like a dudes on a map type thing, and it's more combat driven. Not necessarily all that many Euro-y mechanics, but at least the feeling that I was getting from it, I could be totally wrong, was that it did have it kind of melds both of those together pretty well. So I was wondering if it's maybe, I don't think it's quite the same, but I know there's like some area majority and stuff, so I was wondering if it'd have the area majority part of it anyway would have any kind of feeling like Bunny Kingdom. Because I think ever since Bunny Kingdom, I like how that area control, area type thing works. I don't know that I've found another game that I've really loved, like area control, area majority. Maybe you could kind of count maybe Council of 4 as well. It's not quite that, but it's sort of. But I like how those ones work. So I was thinking if this one kind of has that feel or has that fun way of maybe doing the area control, area majority type thing, it would be one that I'd really enjoy.
I was not expecting that game.
Was there one that you were expecting that's not on here?
There were a few that I was expecting, but I guess we'll see.
Interesting. Did you have any more that you wanted to give a brief mention to?
What are the other ones I got written here? Oh yeah, there was one which I didn't put on here for a good reason. I ran out of space, and I could come up with a reason not to put it on here. And that is Czar, one of those abstract games where I'm like, I could just create this game on a piece of paper and make some cardboard bits. So I'm like, I could probably do that before actually getting the game. So that was one of them. And on to number 10, The Bloody Inn. I was considering. I don't really like the artwork. Kind of a little off-putting. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. And a unique theme to where I was like, maybe we could try that one.
Yeah, I've heard a few things about that one as well. It sounded like it'd be one that I would like to try at least and see what it's about. So.
Yeah, but yeah, those are just a couple that
were there. Okay, awesome. Well, that is our wish list, whatever what you want to call it. Games we would play.
Games we want to play.
We'd play right now if we had the opportunity.
It'll be a long day of gaming.
Right. At least for games that came pre-2020.
Pre-2020.
Sort of pre-pandemic in a way, sort of, but not necessarily. So, yeah, let us know if what we were saying kind of sounds right. So maybe we should go out and get these games right now, or, based on this, maybe we should be adding something else to our list, based on what we kind of have
yeah.
here. If there's anything that you're like, oh yeah, I have that game and that game and that game. Did you mention this one? Do you have this one or something? Let us know below if you think, oh, maybe look into this game, and we'll have another one to add to the list. But otherwise, thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and
Yeah.
as always, don't forget to
Keep on nibbling.